This dude was on a whole different level. All his pets were straight-up beasts. No one wanted to mess with them. The demon hellhound that just kept changing and leveling up. The bombing void, basically this wild space where anything could get pulled in and stay trapped. Even the golden ape, the one nobody could mess with, actually chose him as its master. The main guy in this story is Yi Qin. About 500 years back, a meteor shower blasted through space and ripped open a huge black hole. All kinds of monsters started dropping onto Earth, and people started calling them evil spirits. Evil spirits hunted people, and honestly, humans just didn't stand a chance. There wasn't really another option, so they started putting up safe zones. They were struggling just to keep the evil spirits off them. After a while, people started pulling out this weird stuff from the evil spirits. He started putting it into animals, and the creatures started changing in wild ways. People who had a lot of spiritual power could make deals with these beings, and basically turn them into their own spirit pets. Spirit tamers ended up as the only ones who could actually take on evil spirits, so everyone saw them as top tier. Each Hinching grew up without their real parents, getting brought up by a family that took them in when they were just kids. Because his spiritual power was messed up, he just couldn't lock in any contracts. Things at home kept getting rougher for him. His adoptive parents started acting colder, barely even trying to hide how much they didn't care. After a while, he decided to just dip and leave home. Before heading out, the only person who had his back was his sister. She quietly handed him some cash on the low. That day was rough for him. People just walked all over him, not even caring. Even his one buddy, the husky Air Wu, looked like he was barely hanging on. As the sky started getting dark, he got ready to dig a grave for Air Wu. He held the bleeding dog close, saying goodbye for the last time. Out of nowhere, he set off some kind of system right then. The first time the system kicked on, it dropped a mysterious treasure chest out of nowhere. There were 4 things inside: a nether fire seed that could burn souls, a drop of blood from some old god, a blue soul orb pulsing with wild energy, and a busted stopwatch that once belonged to an ancient powerhouse who could control others like it was nothing. Saving Air Wu came down to that single drop of blood. You took the blue orb and hellfire, mixing them into the blood to make it way stronger. Air Wu leveled up fast, turning into a 5-star demon hellhound. He picked up 2 new spirit pet skills, intimidation and strike, just like that. Once the contract went through, everything changed. He started picking up some of his pet skills for himself. He could straight up change his form whenever he wanted, which was wild to see. Once he got back to the city, he grabbed a place to stay and rented an apartment. The landlord let him know there was an attractive girl living there, but she could get pretty mad, so he told him to watch himself. The next day at school he showed up, and Zhou Wei, who had already messed with him the day before, tried to start up the same stuff again. Yi Qin just reached out and grabbed Zhou Wei's arm, breaking it right there without even hesitating. With one solid hit, he sent the guy flying across the room. Zhou Wei didn't waste any time. He called out his 1.5-star spirit pet right away. Suddenly they lunged forward, going straight for him, trying to rip him apart. Yi turned on his intimidation skill. The spirit pet just stopped moving, stuck in the air like someone hit pause. He came in with a flying kick and launched it across the room again. Just then the class monitor showed up and told Zhou Wei to stop bringing out spirit pets in class. Zhou Wei just kept doing his own thing and didn't pay her any attention. Called out her fire spirit sparrow, showing off her 4-star vermilion bird bloodline. Right then the teacher showed up, called them out, and sent everyone to run laps as payback. Yi Qin knew, back from their days at the orphanage. Ever since she was a kid, her spiritual power was on another level, and everyone could tell she had real talent. After that, she got adopted by the vice president of the Spirit Management Association. With all the resources backing her up, she leveled up fast and ended up way ahead of most people her age at spirit taming. Zhou Wei had a thing for, so seeing her hang out with Yi kind of got to him. Whenever he got the chance, Zhou Wei would mess with Yi, just trying to make his life harder. Now that Yi Qin had a 5-star demon hellhound on his side, he finally felt like he could hold his head up and not back down. When he got home after school, he noticed the door was wide open. The second he swung open the door, he spotted a woman standing there, and their eyes locked right away. She spun on her heel and was gone before anyone even realized it. Yi Qin figured today really kicked off their time living together. He didn't even get the chance to say a word before the girl, just in a towel and gripping a knife, rushed straight at him like she wasn't even thinking twice. Yi moved fast without even thinking, dodging right away. She wasn't holding back at all. Every time she went for him, she was out to end him, no hesitation. Yi dodged every move she threw at him, moving quick on his feet and staying one step ahead the whole time. He figured out that just dodging wasn't gonna cut it. First, he had to find a way to hold her back. He spotted a chance and went for it, grabbing the girl's wrists before she could react. He grabbed her and pulled her up, getting her away from where things could have gone bad. Right then, the girl lost her footing. Both of them slammed into the floor hard, the impact echoing around them. Their eyes locked again. Yi Qin scrambled to his feet, his face turning red from embarrassment. Both of them got back on their feet, and the girl wasn't about to let it go. She went straight for his weak spot, not holding back at all. but Yi Qinqing was quick on the draw and used his intimidation skill right before it landed. He was seriously close. If things had shifted even a centimeter, he would lost any chance at having kids. She realized she wasn't gonna win, so she just got mad, spun around, and stormed off. Right before she left, she told him to just drop everything that went down. If he didn't, she'd be ready to throw down with him for real. Yi Qinqing just stood there, not sure what to do. She always had a short fuse, and right now it was obvious. The next morning, Yi Qing rolled out and made his way to Mercenary City, ready to sign up for some new missions. Nobody saw it coming, but to get any missions, he actually needed a mercenary badge. The only way to get a badge was by signing up with a mercenary group. Over at the recruitment plaza, a bunch of mercenary squads were out there trying to pull in new people. Yi Qinqing gave a quick thanks to the staff and got ready to head out. Right then, a guy pushed his way to the front like he owned the place. That was Wu, repping the top Iron Blood mercenary squad. The front desk staff looked nervous, hands shaking as they tried to get him to follow the line like everyone else. Wu didn't hold back, he just snapped and swung at the staff right away. When it mattered most, he reached out and caught Wu by the wrist. Wu froze, his eyes wide. No matter how hard he tried, he just couldn't get loose. He swung his fist right at Yi Qinqing. Yi Qing spun around and tossed him over her shoulder, sending him crashing straight to the floor. Wu was mad, so he brought out his spirit pet. This thing was a 2-star berserk black bear, loaded with pure power and ready to wreck anything in front of it. The black bear just snapped and rushed straight at Yi, ready to throw down. Yi didn't waste any time, he called out his husky air Wu right away. Nobody could believe how silly it looked. This was 100% a real air Wu from China. If someone got called air Wu, it basically meant everyone thought they were a total clown. Wu moved fast and slipped right past the attack, barely breaking a sweat. The little creature slowly reached out its tiny paw. Right after that, the thing switched up and turned straight into a hellhound. In one quick move, it swiped at the black bear's eye. The black bear got fired up and went all out, using its savage rush move. Wu didn't waste a second. He went straight for another combo strike right after landing air Wu. Out of nowhere, Wu took a heavy hit and ended up coughing up blood. It dropped to the floor and just stayed there, not even trying to get back up. Yi Qinqing saw what was happening and knew straight up that Brute's power wasn't enough for this fight. He figured he had to dodge and wait it out until the right chance popped up. The black bear could barely stand now, all wobbly and messed up, like both its body and spirit had taken a serious hit. Yi called Wu back right away so he could take a break. Wu saw him call back his spirit pet and didn't even care that the black bear was hurt. He just rushed straight at Yi Qinqing, ready to rip him apart. Right then, a young guy rolled up with a whole crew following behind him. Was the young guy in charge of the city? The young lord barely said anything before sending Wu packing. Yi Qing nodded, showing respect and appreciation to the young lord who had just backed him up. The young lord smirked, kind of impressed. He admitted Wu wasn't exactly a great guy, but his wild black bear was seriously tough. The fact that someone managed to hurt that beast was honestly pretty wild. He let Yi Qinqing know that Wei Wu wasn't the kind of guy to just let things go, so he'd better watch his back from now on. Once he thanked him one more time, Yi walked over to the recruitment plaza looking for a mercenary crew that felt right. The second he stepped in, he bumped into his housemate Yi. He went up to say hey to her. Seeing Yi wearing something that bold really caught his attention. He jumped a bit, then kept shaking his head over and over, trying to snap out of it. Yi spotted the guy and without wasting a second, grabbed him and yanked him up, totally fired up. He just chucked him out of the way. Right then an old guy stopped Yi and just asked if he and the other person were friends or something. Yi totally lost it right away, acting like she'd never even met the guy. The old man smiled, threw his arm around Yi Qinqing's shoulders, and wanted to know when he'd start the job. He just straight up let everyone know that Yi was now officially part of the Free Spirit mercenary group. Yi scratched his head, trying to clear things up. He hadn't even said yes to joining yet. The old man looked over at his daughter and wanted to know if he thought she was good looking. He leaned in, dropping a hint that staying close definitely comes with some perks. Yen snapped and just straight up clocked the old man. The old guy suddenly had a big lump show up on his head. He reached out and put a mercenary badge around Yi Qinqing's neck, making it official. Right after that, he rushed over to his computer, grinning, and started typing his info into the system. Once he was done, he grabbed Yi and headed straight for headquarters. As soon as they got to the office, Yi Qing glanced around but saw the place was empty. Yi came in and basically shut him down, saying it wasn't worth the hassle. Turns out, the Free Spirit mercenary group was just 3 people. Yi just froze right there, it hit him all at once. He totally got played. He was totally broke and needed jobs just to get by. It didn't make sense how a 3-man merc squad like his could even land gigs. Out of nowhere, the old man lit up and mentioned there was a 2-star mission waiting for them to try out together. They hopped in the car and headed out. As they were making their way, they suddenly spotted a stunning girl from the western region just hovering above the ground, catching everyone off guard. By then, both of them were already caught up in some kind of mind trick. Luckily, Erwu called out, snapping right back to reality. Yi Qingqing looked up and noticed the car speeding straight toward a hillside, about to slam right into it. He reached out fast and took control of the wheel. The car swung hard around the corner, barely missing the wall. It was so close, it looked like the paint almost got peeled off. He turned on his intimidation skill, locking in that serious vibe. Han suddenly came to, like he'd just woken up from a deep sleep. Right when it seemed like there was no time left, she stomped on the brakes. Everyone got thrown out hard, like they just got launched by a wild ride. Yi freaked out and jumped forward, trying to catch him before he hit the ground. Yi snapped awake, thinking about how Yi always talks tough but actually cares a lot underneath it all. Yi, clearly annoyed, just tossed him back down to the ground without a second thought. Yi Qingqing got up and let her know they'd been stuck in some kind of illusion. Erwu came through just in time and got the pup out, basically saving everyone. The second heir showed up and spotted Yi. He couldn't help but notice how good she looked. He didn't waste a second, he jumped right in, no hesitation. Han launched a quick kick that knocked him back hard, leaving him dizzy and seeing stars. As it started getting dark, Air by Wu just started going off, barking non-stop out of nowhere. You could tell something wasn't right, so she called out her Thunder Leopard, the one with 2.5 stars. Air Wu changed into a hellhound, looking way more intense than before. Right then Air spotted a female ghost. She wasn't even wearing anything, just out here wilding. He couldn't let that slide, so he hit her with another fire blast and finished her off. A few seconds passed, then the ghost popped back out totally fine and let out this wild, ear-splitting scream. The blast from the sound wave dropped them both right away. Didn't hold back and just dropped Heavenly Smite. Lightning came out of nowhere and just zapped the ghost, turning it straight into ashes. Yi Qingqing figured the ghost had finally dipped. Out of nowhere, Yi just went for him with a stab. Blood shot out of Yi Qing's shoulder. Yi was totally taken over by the ghost's anger, and her strength just shot way up. Yi Qingqing tried to use his quick moves to stay out of trouble, but even then, he kept getting knocked backward over and over. Wu was just chilling when he suddenly caught the ghost flickering in the dark. He fired off another strike, not letting up for a second. He just stood there totally lost, while the others started going at it. He saw what was happening. Yi pointed at the ghost and let know it was his turn to handle things. And Air Wu locked in and hit their attacks at the same time, dropping Heavenly Smite and Nether Flame Strike together. The ghost just stood there totally fine. Yi was on the run, totally drained from being chased non-stop. Out of nowhere, he remembered that ghost wraiths always have their weak spot right in the middle of their forehead. He pointed at her forehead and told to drop a Heavenly Smite right there. Yi Qingqing tried to move, but Yi Qinghan's kick came out of nowhere and dropped him straight to the ground. She gripped her sword tight and swung it down hard. He threw his arm up fast, ready to stop the hit. With her power cranked up, his arms started shaking hard. He was barely holding on, about to go down. Right then, something smacked the ghost right on the forehead. She disappeared in a puff of smoke just like that, and right after, Yi Qinghan snapped back to his senses. Yi Qingqing suddenly dropped to the ground right there. When he woke up, he saw Yi Qinghan quietly patching him up. He started grinning, messing with her a bit in his head, thinking she actually looked kinda good when she wasn't flipping out. After hearing that, Yi pulled the bandage away, and the guy couldn't help but wince from how much it hurt. She patched up the cut super fast, not wasting any time. Air Wu came walking up, holding a bead in his mouth like it was his latest find. This was the Soul Source Pearl, made from the ghost's own energy and packed with soul power. Yi En noticed what was going on and passed the news to Wu after beating him. That move should level him up a bit. Yi was the one who took care of the evil spirit, so it made sense for him to get the reward. Yi Qingqing saw what was happening and didn't hesitate. He just told Air Wu to go for it and take it all in so he could level up. Air Wu knocked it back in one shot. His power leveled up right away. He jumped from F rank straight to EA rank, which was as high as it got. Right then the system showed up on his screen again. Because his pet had just leveled up, he got a reward chest. He found 3 wild treasures inside. First was this blue thing that looked cosmic, then a queen scepter that had some serious space powers going on, and finally a titan pillar that could change its size any way you wanted but never broke, no matter what. The whole setup looked insane. Yi glanced over at Yi, kind of doubting if this dude was actually clueless. Yi figured out he was the only one who could actually see the pet's simulator screen. When they got back to the squad, old Yi couldn't hide how hyped he was. He pulled out a fat stack of cash, letting everyone know that Yi said the job worked out because of Yi, so her cut would go straight to him. When Yi Qingqing heard that, his eyes lit up. He thought he was about to cash in big time. Oldie just grabbed a couple bills from that big stack and slipped them into his hand. He took off right away, leaving Yi Qingqing just standing there, totally stunned. He couldn't believe it, this was all he got for a 2-star mission. It felt like he just signed up for a scam, like he'd accidentally joined a bunch of pirates or something. A couple days later, Yi Qingqing was back at school. The homeroom teacher let everyone know finals were coming up soon, and after that people would be moved around depending on how strong they were. There were way too many students, so each class instructor had to handle the first test on their own. Anyone who had a pet just needed to call it out so the instructor could check how good it was. Zhou Wei, who was always looking for a way to mess with Yi, suddenly called him out, saying that since you didn't even have a pet, he might as well just quit now. Yi Qingqing shot him a dirty look, clearly not impressed. He noticed Zhou Wei was back on his feet, acting tough like nothing happened. It was pretty obvious Yi Qingqing wasn't buying it. He challenged Zhou Wei, basically saying, if you're so confident I can't pass, let's put something on the line and make things interesting. Zhou Wei thought this was just a regular bet, not knowing that Yi's hellhound was about to have him absolutely rattled. Everyone pulled up at the assessment area, ready to see where they'd land. Teacher was in charge, sorting everyone into classes depending on how strong their pets were. San was the first one called up for the test. He moved up and called out this black beetle. After the test, teacher just said it was regular stuff, nothing special. Saw Sam get put into a normal class with everyone else. Zhou Wei was next in line. Some guys in the back started hyping him up, making a ton of noise. Zhou Wei flicked his right hand, and out of nowhere this giant mantis showed up in front of everyone. Up ahead stood a twin-blade mantis lord marked as a 2.5-star growth type. This thing had both dual blade slash and wind blade moves. Yi Qingqing remembered his own pet was supposed to be the wolf, right? He switched things up instantly, no hesitation. Rich kids just play by their own rules. The results finally dropped. Zhou Wei's mantis was top tier, so they put him straight into the second best honors class. The class monitor saw Yi and quickly moved over to him. She grabbed his arm, checking if he was alright, clearly concerned something might have just gone down with Zhou Wei again. Zhou Wei caught standing way too close to Yi, and it instantly set him off. He called out to Yi Qingqing, reminding him about their wild bet. If he managed to pass the assessment, he'd have to go live and do something totally embarrassing. Yi Qingqing nodded, basically saying he remembered the deal, and if he lost, he'd let the other guy call the shots. Teacher called on next. Everyone already knew her fire spirit sparrow was the real deal. Just like he thought, it turned out flawless. She got put in the top-level honors class. Now it was Yi Qingqing's shot. Zhou Wei started clowning around, saying everyone better be ready to bow down and clean his shoes later. Everyone around started talking, saying Yi was the one guy without a pet. People who mess up their soul power usually just call it quits right away. Right then, Yi Qingqing lifted his right hand, and out of nowhere this massive glowing circle showed up. People in the room just froze, nobody saw that coming. Some started thinking it was a contract space gate or something wild like that. Even Zhou Wei started to lose his cool. Wu suddenly showed up in front of everyone, giving that classic husky stare that said he wasn't impressed, and let out a single bark. For a split second, nobody moved. He just started cracking up. The husky's supposed to be his battle buddy, but was he really not worried it might have dipped and joined the other side? Zhou Wei was the only one who actually looked scared. He remembered his iron-backed wolf had taken this dog out for real. Now he couldn't believe he might have to go live and eat crap. Right then, Yi Qingqing walked up and brought Wu over to stand in front of teacher. Once the testing device turned on, it lit up the whole place with this wild golden glow. Zhou Wei just stood there frozen, same as everyone else. Nobody had a clue what was going on. Was this some wild, legendary moment or what? Then Wu's pet form showed up, and honestly the whole place went dead silent. Teacher took his time, making sure everyone heard him loud and clear. He started listing stuff about Yi Qingqing's pet, a husky that wasn't normal, it had mutated somehow. The teacher pointed out its top-notch quality, basically saying this dog was next level. He said it was good enough to recommend straight into the first-tier honors class. Zhou Wei just froze, totally thrown off. No way was he actually about to eat something this nasty. Yi Qingqing stepped up to him, looking straight at Zhou. He wanted to know when Zhou was actually going to keep his word. Zhou Wei spotted Yi hanging out way too close to. He just stood there, holding back his frustration, knowing he lost this round. After that, teacher let everyone know the first round was done. He said the next day would start the second round, which was all about combat skills. They picked the Demon Spirit Forest for the spot. Nobody saw that coming. The Demon Spirit Forest was no joke. Everyone knew it was packed with some nasty E-rank and D-rank spirits. Regular guys wouldn't even think about stepping inside. After hearing that, Zhou Wei instantly came up with another nasty plan. He figured that forest was the best spot to lose Yi Qingqing for good. Once the test wrapped up, everybody dipped out of school. Yi was on his way back, getting ready to head home, when out of nowhere someone called his name. He spun around and saw standing there. Turns out, the young boss from Mercenary City actually landed in the same class as him. Most people would expect a rich kid like him to be chilling at some super fancy school with all the other elite students. Just shrugged it off, saying that with his family's money, all schools pretty much felt the same to him. He just stood there not saying a word. Thought it'd be cool to celebrate since the exam went so well, so he brought up the idea of grabbing some hot food together. Before Yi Qingqing even had a chance to react, just grabbed him and pulled him along. They pull up to the Emperor Grand Hall, which is basically the spot in town. As soon as they walked in, he didn't waste time and grabbed the best VIP spot, Heavenly Sun Suite number 1, like he owned the place. Joe Wei showed up out of nowhere. When he spotted Yi hanging out with this insanely rich dude who looked totally out of place, Joe Wei instantly saw an opportunity. He figured this was his shot to put the guy on blast and embarrass him in front of everyone. He strolled up with that smug look and started throwing shade. He spotted Yi Qin and basically let everyone know he didn't think he belonged anywhere near the Emperor Grand Hall. He slipped in quietly, knowing if anyone spotted him, he'd be in serious trouble. He figured if the guy got down on his knees and begged, maybe he'd step in and help. At the end of the day, they were still classmates. Sutter spun around and checked out Yi Qinqing, trying to figure out who this random guy was. Joey saw what was happening and instantly pulled himself together. He couldn't believe a guy like that was running his mouth so much. At this point, even his own dad probably wouldn't stand a chance getting into. Nobody ever went into that room, everyone just kind of stayed away. Joe Wei was totally clueless. If he found out who Sutter really was, he'd probably freak right there. Sutter shot Joe Wei a look that basically said he didn't respect him at all. He clearly thought Joe was way off for even hinting that the guy couldn't get into number 1. He looked over at the front desk guy at the Imperial Luxury Club and wanted to know if he could actually get into number 1 or not. The clerk didn't hesitate. He just nodded and said that yeah, young Master Su totally did. Joe Wei pulled up, ready to mess with Yi Qinqing, but suddenly stopped in his tracks. He'd never guessed that the random guy next to Yi Qinqing was actually the oldest son of the city lord. What really made things rough was realizing that he owned this insanely fancy hotel too. Joe Wei just froze. He couldn't believe a broke dude like Yi Qinqing actually knew someone like. Was done with Joe and told his guys to blacklist him. From that moment on, Joe wasn't allowed anywhere near the place. He walked over to Joe Wei and basically let him know it was time to dip. Once Joe Wei figured out this young master was way out of his league, he knew he had no choice but to back off and dip. The next morning, everyone met up at the entrance of Demon Spirit Forest. The teacher let them know their combat test was happening inside. Most of the spirits around the edge were F rank, but every now and then, some E rank ones would show up, so they had to stay alert. Going further in, way more E rank spirits start popping up, and there's a real chance stronger ones could show up too. The school basically tells everyone to stick close to the edge of campus. The school brought in the mercenary group to keep an eye on everyone and handle any problems before they even start. No need to freak out, they've got your back from behind the scenes. He had to chill and not do anything wild. If those mercenaries jumped in, he'd straight up fail the test. When you heard that, he started to get uneasy. He remembered straight up that was part of the Iron Blood mercenary group, and definitely wasn't some random rookie. He was ready for whatever they threw at him. If those mercenaries tried anything, he'd have no problem taking them all out, no hesitation. The academy teacher called out the challenge. Everyone had to get their hands on an F-rank evil spirit core. There's a 3-day timer on this. If he doesn't pull it off by then, he's out. No more waiting, the second round just kicked off, now it's all on him. Yi Yan got the squad back together and took off into the forest. Finally showed everyone his beast, a 4-star frost-powered ice that could level up over time. This thing had moves like Domain and Frozen Pillar. He brought it out, ready to make a deal. Yi Qinqing checked out the beast and thought it looked sick, but he couldn't help noticing that the name just didn't fit at all. Didn't waste any time and fired right back, wondering if Er Wu, the dog, could keep up with anything thrown his way. He fired back at Yi Qinqing, thinking that the dog's sharp little eyes really did match the name Er Wu. While they were still arguing, noticed a flame earth flower nearby. She found this rare plant, and it was just what she needed to level up her fire condensation game. Tried to get his attention, but without meaning to, he let the fiend know they were there. Crimson light suddenly shoots out in a circle around the flower. Out of nowhere, this huge blood-red demon showed up. The ground around it looked scorched, and you could just tell it was built for battle. It had a crazy sharp lance and a flaming sword, looking ready to mess things up. The fiend was really into flame earth flowers, so it showed up right away. For Yi Qinqing, this was his first time squaring up with a fiend built for battle. Didn't waste a second, he told Fire Sparrow to blast out some flames right away. Gave Big White the signal, and Big White instantly dropped Frost Domain. Right then, the unlucky fiend got hit with something brutal, like freezing cold pain that just wouldn't let up. Right then, Er Wu pulled up with his. A moment ago, the fiend was acting all cocky. People were yelling everywhere, sounding totally miserable. When Nether Flame hit, it wasn't just the body taking damage. His soul felt like it was straight up on fire. The pain went way beyond anything physical, and it was honestly the worst thing he'd ever experienced. It didn't take long before saw the Flame Earth flower starting to droop. Without its natural energy, it couldn't last unless someone kept it in the right spot. He heard every suggestion and just wanted to jump in and try it out immediately. The pet creation system pretty much took care of it all. That's actually how Er Wu managed to level up too. While he stayed focused on his work and just froze, they couldn't believe he actually knew how to raise pets like this. Had he been hiding these skills the whole time? A few minutes later, he wrapped it up. What he ended up holding honestly looked kinda sketchy. Even Fire Sparrow jumped back, looking unsure if this stuff was actually safe to eat. After it gulped it down, Fire burst out from its body, kicking off a real deal Nirvana rebirth. When it busted out of its shell again, it didn't even look the same. Now it was this wild 6.5-star Phoenix variant. Couldn't hide how hyped he was. Was hanging out next to him, eyeing the whole thing. He looked like he wanted in too, hoping Yi Qingqing could help boost his dub as well. Yi Qingqing just pointed out that obviously he was actually part of a subspecies, so there was a legit shot he could level up into a real someday. It could only level up if it got some dragon aura. Dragons barely showed up anywhere. Most people could go their whole lives without ever seeing one. The next day the three of them pull up at Snow Peak Mountain, deep in the Demon Spirit Forest. Everything's covered in snow and the wind is freezing, feels like they just stepped into a whole different world. That's when Yi Qingqing realized something wasn't right. He nailed it by the time he looked around. The three of them were already boxed in by a huge pack of snowfield wolves. Let everyone know that these wolves weren't rocking any special powers, but when it came to fighting together, they were relentless and wouldn't back down, even if it meant going all the way. Yi Qingqing wasn't just standing around, he was already thinking ahead. He zoned in on the Wolf King, knowing if he took down the leader, the rest would fall apart. The Wolf King was a Frost-type mutant with 2 stars. He had some pretty wild moves called Pack Control and Blizzard Surge. Yi Qingqing spotted someone trying to lay low in the back, but he wasn't fooled for a second. He had his own way of seeing through stuff like that, so staying out of sight wasn't gonna work on him. Right then Su jumped in and placed a buy, dropping Frost Domain into play. Matched up with the Hellhound Wu's, things started heating up fast. A giant spell blasted out in every direction. Air didn't even hesitate right in that split second. He went for it and took out the Wolf King with one bite. Yi Qingqing nodded at Air by Wu, letting him know it was time for his younger brothers to dip and spread out. He really pulled it off. Air Wu stepped up and just like that he was the new Wolf King. One howl was all it took. Everyone else took off running, leaving and just standing there not sure what just happened. They honestly couldn't believe it. As a hellhound, Air pretty much had all dog-type monsters and pets under control, and after taking out the Wolf King himself, that power only got even more solid. Yi Qingqing grabbed the Wolf King's core off the ground and passed it to. Now, with both the core and a cold resist flower, Dubai had everything he needed to level up. Couldn't hide how hyped she was. Not long after, the three of them came across a new little lake. Yi Qingqing thought it was weird. It was freezing outside, but the lake wasn't frozen at all. That just didn't add up. Out of nowhere, the water started going wild, bubbling like it was about to go off. That's when they noticed something moving under the water. It turned out to be a void blue whale carrying the bloodline, basically, a next-level space water pet with some wild skill hidden inside its belly. As soon as it saw people chilling by the shore, the whale tried to dip out of there fast. Yi just went for it and dove right into the water, no second guessing. This kind of creature was rare, seriously valuable. He knew there was zero chance he'd let it get away. While heading down, he spotted some cold-resistant grass at the bottom of the lake. That explained why the water stayed unfrozen. Right now, all that mattered to him was grabbing that coin. Wu let out a breath, and right then, so Yi closed in, hitting him from both sides. He was boxed in with no way out. Catching the void blue whale was no big deal for them. When they got it on land, Yi Qingqing just said he'd turn it into fish soup like it was nothing. The whale seriously freaked out. Without hesitating, it decided to stick with him as his pet. He kept thinking, kind of surprised to see a creature even shyer than a husky. Weren't fiends supposed to be tough? The two of them went ahead and made it official with a contract. A notification popped up, and just like that, the system was back. Now the host had 10% of the whale's power, picked up a new skill, and something in his bloodline kicked in that had been sleeping this whole time. He checked out his second super-tier pet. Yi Qingqing instantly went with Space Shift. Even though it couldn't really hurt anyone, the move was super clutch for support, especially with all its space tricks. The whale just disappeared, like it was never there in the first place. He popped back up right away, and In couldn't help but feel straight up jealous. You reached down and grabbed the cold resist flower from the bottom of the lake. With that in hand, Dubai finally had what he needed to level up. Yi Qingqing got the special food ready again. When Dubai saw that same weird-looking mush, he ate it anyway, but his eyes started tearing up. In the blink of an eye, icy energy blasted through Dubai, so had to throw up a fire shield to cover everyone. Right when I was about to level up, Yi Qingqing spotted someone coming at it out of nowhere. None of the people who showed up were randoms. Zhou Wei pulled up with the mercenary squad, bringing together every single person who had beef with him in one place. Zhou Wei knew Yi was plotting to get the Iron Blood mercenaries on his side to take him out. But what you didn't see coming was that Zhou Wei had already ticked off those mercenaries way before any of this started. It honestly felt like luck was on Zhou Wei's side for once. Wu explained that the kid always believed he was from some big, important group, but in reality, he was just an orphan with nobody backing him up, so taking him out wouldn't really stir up any problems. heard what was said and didn't waste a second. He moved up, planting himself right in front of Yu Qingqing. It was obvious he wasn't about to let Wu mess with his friend. His energy was serious. He was ready to stand his ground no matter what happened next. Wu didn't back down for a second. He just smirked, acting like messing with the young city lord was off limits. Yu Qingqing, though, what happened to him was fair game. From his point of view, the city lord in charge of the mercenary city wouldn't mess with him just to back up some nobody, as long as Su stayed safe. Right then Zhou Wei rolled up with his squad, 5 deep, all rocking E-class pets. They totally outnumbered Yu's crew. Yu Qingqing didn't waste a second. He took charge, setting up the plan on the spot. Was told to have Fire step up and keep the Crimson Flame Ape and Tusk Boar busy. Wu got the job of dealing with the rampaging bear and the fighting kangaroo. They weren't trying to win right now. The plan was just to hold out long enough for the Bai to finish evolving. Once that happened, everything would flip in their favor. He looked at Zhou Wei's twin-blade mantis, already deciding he'd take care of it solo. After dropping those words, he just went for it, running right at Zhou Wei. Zhou Wei froze, not expecting this dude to come at him with nothing, no pet, nothing at all. For a second, he honestly thought the kid was straight up asking to get wrecked. As soon as he finished talking, the twin-blade mantis came straight at Yu Qingqing. Its blades were swinging in, ready to hit him. Yu Qing didn't waste a second. He just snapped and activated his Void Blue Whale space shift. Zhou Wei just stood there, locked in, when Yu Qingqing disappeared right in front of him. Out of nowhere, Yu Qingqing popped up right behind him. He snatched the guy up and just straight up lifted him off the ground. He raised his voice, telling everyone to chill out and quit what they were doing. He was dead serious. If things didn't go his way, he'd straight up end it for the guy. Wu just watched, totally chill, thinking he'd misread Yu Qingqing. To him, Zhou Wei wasn't linked to the Iron Blood mercenaries at all. If Wu wanted Zhou Wei gone, that was his own call. Zhou Wei was caught off guard by just how savage Wei Wu turned out to be. He started freaking out and turned to Yu Qingqing for mercy, basically promising to drop all their past beef if he could just get a pass. He even offered to team up and take down the mercenary group together. Yu Qingqing remembered everything that happened earlier. He looked at the other person, thinking they wanted him to let them off the hook. He remembered how things went down before. Nobody ever really cut him any slack. Back then, Wu got taken out by that wolf and it was all on him. He just meant to give him a warning, but since the other guy actually showed up trying to end him, he figured there was no turning back now. Right after he was done, there was this sharp crack. He just straight up broke Zhou Wei's neck. Wu just stood there for a second, watching Yu Qingqing take out Wei Zhou like it was nothing. That's when it hit him. He'd totally misjudged this guy. Right then, the twin-blade mantis showed up again. Now that its master was gone, it just snapped and went all out, totally wild. No matter how hard it tried, every time Qingqing switched spots, it just couldn't land a hit on him. Wu looked over with a smug grin, thinking that if he couldn't land a hit on Qingqing, he might as well take out Qingqing's friends instead. Each Qingqing kept grumbling to himself, thinking this kid was seriously pushing his buttons. He didn't waste a second. He snapped open the void barrier, locking and behind it, keeping them safe. He was running on empty at this point, right when Wu and the rest of the crew were about to rush him. Out of nowhere, icy energy blasted out from the middle of the field. Dubai finally leveled up. Sutter jumped in ready to buy. Everyone kept an eye on him. The ice went off, dropping its special moves, Frost, Domain, and Ice Spikes, and just wiped out a bunch of enemy pets in seconds. Notices pretty quick that things aren't going his way, so he decides it's time to dip and starts backing off. There was no way out now. Yi and Air had already blocked their path. Yu Qingqing took his time, staring straight ahead. He let everyone know, if someone came for his life, they better be ready to pay the same price. Wei Wu freaked out, letting everyone know these guys were with the Iron Blood mercenaries. He was stressing, thinking that if he took them out, the whole crew would come after him. Yu Qingqing saw this coming way before it happened. If the mercenaries were looking for payback, he was totally ready to take them down too. Out of nowhere, there was a sharp crack, and just like that, every mercenary dropped. Once the fight was over, Yu Qingqing got to work, tidying everything up without any stress. He knew the blood would bring in snow wolves, so he planned to make it look like they'd done the damage. Still, snow wolves always tore things up and used their ice skills, so he had to stash the roasted razor tusk boar somewhere it wouldn't get spotted. Started to shiver. The way this kid stayed so calm was honestly scary. Only Yu Qingqing really got it. Since the evil spirits showed up, life was never going back to normal. Sure, the spirits were the obvious bad guys, but honestly, people weren't much better. People could honestly be way scarier than any monster out there. When money's involved, even brothers could just flip and go against each other. Back when everything was wild, letting your enemies off easy was basically asking to get wrecked. After a long, tiring day, the three of them got together that night and cooked up a huge dinner. Out of nowhere, someone started heading their way. It was a wild turn of events that night. Yi was there, looking seriously hurt. Before anyone had a chance to move, she just dropped right into his arms and passed out. Couldn't help but wonder who the pretty girl was. As soon as he mentioned she was his roommate, got hyped right away. He stared at Yu Qingqing, realizing he'd totally slept on him all this time. He honestly couldn't believe his roommate was this good looking. He saw Yi knocked out cold and honestly had no clue what to do next. She figured her best shot was to try artificial respiration right away. Right when he was about to get closer, darted in and snagged the spot before he could. Yi and were about to lose it after seeing that. Even after giving him artificial respiration, Yi Qinghan just lay there, not moving at all. Yi Qingqing was out of options, so he went for his last move. He started doing chest compressions. About halfway in, Yi Qinghan just snapped awake out of nowhere. Yi got spooked and instantly took a step back, pretty much convinced he was about to catch some hands. Instead of getting mad, Yi Qinghan kept her cool and started talking in this smooth, flirty way. She let Yi Qingqing know she remembered his name and told him to call her Big Sis. Yi Qing just stood there not moving at all. Something about this was seriously off. Normally she'd have gone off on him without a second thought. He used to be super cold, like he just didn't mess with anyone, but now he was moving around like some dude from the streets. You started thinking maybe he had some kind of split personality. She needed answers fast, so she pressed him about who he actually was and what happened to him. Yi just told him straight up to act like she was the real deal, like she actually was Yi. She brushed off her injuries, saying she just messed up during an E-class mission. The target was supposed to be a plant-type evil spirit, but it was way tougher than anyone expected. Honestly, it could have passed for D-class and nearly took her out. You could tell there was something weird about her now, but honestly, that mission seemed like a solid chance to get some real practice in. He let her take the lead to see for himself just how tough this mission creature actually was. They finally made it to the deepest spot in the forest. You pointed out this huge tree up ahead, saying that was actually the plant-type evil spirit. Just stared, he couldn't wrap his head around it, since to him it looked like any regular old tree. Turns out it was a 4-star ancient tree from the sky, stacked with vine bind and powers. Yi Qingqing could tell right away this was going to be tough to deal with. Right then Yi called out for her bear, telling it to take down the tree. The bear rushed over and started going at it, while Yi just sat there, kind of confused about why the thunder leopard wasn't her pet anymore. Right after Yi Qingqing spotted the real problem, the tentacle monster finally showed up. The clueless bear wrapped itself around the tree, almost like it thought it could yank the whole thing right out of the ground. Vines just launched everywhere and locked it down tight. The vines shot out fast, wrapping up Yi Qinghan in seconds. Didn't waste any time. His fire sparrow jumped in and used flame magic to blast right through the vines. The vines snapped right back like nothing ever happened. Yi quickly figured out that these vines weren't just normal plants. They actually drained people's energy. If things kept going like this, the tree spirit would end up using every single one of them as food, and none of them would make it out alive. The monster was supposed to be weak against fire, right? But even with Fire Sparrow going at it, those flames just weren't cutting it. Night Qingqing saw that the Fire Sparrows weren't doing the trick, so he decided to bring out his hellhounds and hit the ancient tree with some nether flame instead. He wanted to see if the tree could handle both the physical heat and whatever weird spiritual burn the nether flame brings. He didn't waste any time. He told 250 to drop a strike right away. This time it actually worked. 250 rushed at the tree and blasted the nether flame strike right into it. In just a second, the heavenly azure ancient tree just broke apart, body and soul gone. Knight handled it like a boss and finished the job. He stood next to him, smirking like he'd just realized this dude was way more legit than he first thought. Ever since she took down the evil spirit, the core just became hers, no questions asked. Right before it went down, the tree let go of something special, a rare 3-star item that basically dropped out of nowhere. After she finished talking, you just hopped onto the big bear like it was no big deal and got ready to head out. After seeing what happened, Knight and the rest just headed back to the forest entrance and turned in their task. When everyone finally showed up, Instructor got straight to business and started reading out the results. She called up the students who passed, giving them props for making it into spirit taming class. After that, she dropped the list for the final class assignments. San and Li Zai landed in the regular class, nothing too special. Li Ning got into the second elite class, which was a step up, ended up in the first elite class, the top spot. When Night Qingqing found out, he was stunned for a second. Over 100 people didn't make the cut. Instructor kept going, saying the academy was setting up a new class, one even tougher than the first elite group. Only the absolute top 5 students got in. The two were Joe and Joe. And then there was. Right away, everyone started complaining. People couldn't get why it was him, since he didn't even have a real spirit beast, just that husky that always wrecked stuff back home. Night Qingqing didn't pay any attention to the noise around him. He just stayed focused on Instructor and walked right behind him, heading for the exit. He barely made it a few steps before someone behind him started yelling, telling him to freeze. Director Joe lost it and rushed out, saying Night Qingqing had taken out his nephew Joe Wei and promising he'd get payback. Instructor showed up just in time, pulling Night out of a tough spot. Back at the academy, she caught him off guard again. Turns out she actually wanted to show him some cultivation moves one-on-one. As soon as Night hit, Qingqing zoned out, totally lost in his own world and almost drooling. Instructor didn't waste a second. He just smacked him and basically called him out for acting cocky. Made it clear there's no way he'd bother chasing after someone like that, not with a face like his. She wanted to know if he'd already hit awakening mode. When a spirit tamer gets their compatibility with their spirit beast up to 50%, they basically unlock awakening. At that point they start sharing some of their beast's powers. If their bond keeps getting stronger, even more abilities get unlocked. When they're at full power, they can actually combine and pick up every beast skill out there. Awakening barely ever happens. Most tamers go their whole lives and never even hit 50%. After seeing how he took down that wolf earlier, instructors started thinking he probably already awakened. They wanted to see how well Yu Qingqing could keep up, so instructors set up a quick sparring match between them. Yu Qingqing realized she wasn't backing down, so he figured he might as well give it everything he had. He turned on his intimidation skill right away. As soon as the skill kicked off, instructor froze up for a second, caught totally off guard. Things got even more awkward when Yu Qingqing messed up and let his hand wander where it shouldn't have. Yeah, everyone saw it coming. Instructor just launched him with a punch, sending the dude flying. He got called out hard for not acting his age. Even though that move knocked her out for a second, it actually did the job way better than she expected. To unlock a spirit pet's powers, you needed at least a 70% compatibility rate, which wasn't easy to hit. She could tell you was definitely past that mark. Even for her, she only got to 75% after going through a ton of near-death fights with her own pet. From that point on, she decided to train him herself, showing him all the combat moves she knew. When Yu Qingqing found out, he got hyped right away. Free one-on-one lessons, no way he was passing that up. He got home after a long, tiring day. As soon as he walked in, he heard water running somewhere inside the house. As expected, Yi was just in the middle of his shower. Somehow, she couldn't remember anything about what went down in the withered bone forest. Yu Qin started thinking for real that she probably had some sort of split personality. He could already tell his chance at getting paid was basically over. The next morning, he pulled up to the spot where the spirit pet breeder's final exam was happening. As soon as he stepped into the room, everyone started staring. Breeders barely ever showed up, so seeing even older guys waiting for the test wasn't weird. But a kid his age, that just never happened. Professor Dong came over with this monkey statue in his hands. The challenge for today was simple. Bring this messed up mutant pet back to life, and if someone could actually make it evolve, that would be next level. The system said the statue was actually a 3-star rock-type ape with long arms, stuck in a failed evolution and barely hanging on. Yu Qingqing took one look and pointed out that the stone statue was actually a long-armed ape that got turned to stone when its evolution flopped. Professor Dong broke it down. The pet used to be F-class, nothing special. They tried to level it up with a rock-type evil spirit core, hoping for a big upgrade, but they messed up the process and now the pet's all messed up because of it. They had just one shot at the exam today, bring it back to life in under an hour. If they pulled it off, they'd pass, simple as that. Yu Qingqing figured having a system made things way too simple. He just had to grab a big pot, some E-Class 8 blood essence, 10 gold and silver herbs, and a single mutated pangolin scale. Professor Dong just stared, not sure if he could actually pull it off. The stuff needed for this wasn't cheap either. Yu Qingqing didn't hesitate for a second. He was totally locked in, saying he was sure he could bring it back and even take it to the next level. If he messed up, he'd have to pay for everything out of his own pocket. The professor just froze after hearing that. Everyone else started clowning on him, thinking he just showed up to mess around. Honestly, there was no way that could be true. Not long after, the stone ape actually came back to life. The power sword was in play now. The system popped up, showing it had leveled up into a 4-star mutated combat titan-armed king. It had new skills like adamant body and titan fist, making it seriously tough. Everyone who used to doubt Yu Qingqing just went quiet real quick after seeing this. Even Professor was impressed. He couldn't believe how good the kid was. His skills were already way above what most mid-level breeders could pull off. Right then, the huge titan ape reached out and caught Yu Qingqing by the leg. The grip was insane. If it squeezed any harder, his leg would have been done for. In the next moment, the titan dropped to one knee right next to him, eyes full of this sad, almost desperate look. It was like the titan was hoping Yu Qingqing would just scoop him up and get him out of there. Professor Dong paused for a second. The association had already dropped a ton of cash on this creature. The golden-armed titan picked up on his hesitation, and without wasting a second, slammed his fist into the ground. That one move had the professor freaked out, so he agreed right away. Yu Qing walked out of the testing area with the titan right behind him. He jumped into the pet simulator and started up the contract process. The system let him know he was about to get a tenth of the titan's power. He got the chance to pick up one of its skills. No second thoughts, he went straight for Diamond Body, the top-tier defense move. He still didn't really know how tough it was, or how much it could actually take. He told the Titan to give it a shot, but to keep it chill and only use about 10% of its power. He took the hit but stayed standing. He told the Titan to keep turning up the power. When the Titan powered up to half strength, Yu Qingqing finally decided to pull the plug. The Titan was no joke. It was one of the strongest E-Class power pets out there. Yu Qingqing, even with just half of its power, could run through most regular E-Class beasts and spirits without breaking a sweat. Once the test was over, he pulled out the weapon he'd been saving. It was a transforming iron staff, super heavy and able to change its size, just right for a power-type pet. From then on, his third pet was locked in for real. Yi Qingqing headed back to the training grounds and caught everyone grinding, totally focused on their practice. Teacher John came over and with a serious look, wanted to know why he dipped out of class that morning. He told them he was there for the breeder certification test. Word got out that he crushed the mid-level breeder exam, and everyone was seriously caught off guard. Teacher pulled him aside and told him to come with her for some extra lessons, keeping it. She planned to show him how to do the inch punch, which is all about packing a ton of power into a small move. Inch punch lets someone use all the power they've got in one move. He focused everything he had into one punch, all that energy packed tight right at his fist. He smashed right through the sandbag like it was nothing. She broke it down for him. Even though he picked up a tenth of his pet's power, he could only tap into like half of that. But once he got inch punch, he could finally go all out with everything he had. Yi Qingqing realized this move was going to be clutch for any fights he ran into later on. Later that night, Su came up to him and suggested they kick off a breeder workshop together. Decided to put in the money, setting up a deal where Yi Qingqing would walk away with 70% of the profits and would get the rest. Yi Qingqing didn't even hesitate, he was all in right away. And the Zhou siblings were jumping in too, so there was no way this wasn't going to blow up and bring in cash. The next day, Su really flexed her rich kid status. She went out and grabbed the biggest store in the part of town, then somehow got the whole place redone overnight. Yi Qingqing finally unlocked his first door. Creation God Studio was now open for business. Let out a laugh, kind of impressed. Most people just mess around with breeding pets, but this kid jumped straight to trying to play God with creation. Honestly, was into it. Yi Qingqing thought his first day running the studio would go smooth, but right when he opened, someone random showed up and started causing problems. As soon as the guy stepped in, he checked out the place and thought the renovation was pretty solid, but he couldn't help but think the name studio was kind of off. He was just way too full of himself. Yi Qingqing clocked right away that this kid wasn't there to talk business. He just pulled up looking for trouble. Right then stepped up. She had called to just blend in like a background character, not to mess things up. Turns out this kid was little brother. He took one look at Yi Qingqing's shop and thought it was way too tiny, so he started worrying his sister might get played here. Ben pointed over to the certificate on the wall. It was clear he wanted everyone to notice it. That certificate wasn't just for show, it was an intermediate pet beast breeder license, handed out by the Pet Beast Breeding Association. Getting slapped in the face, that hits different. It's not just the sting, your brain kind of freezes for a second like, did that really just happen? For a moment everything goes quiet and you're just standing there trying to process what's up. Still wasn't buying it. He straight up said their license had to be fake and called out the whole thing as illegal. Right then he called out his own beast, a tiger made of ice crystals, and let everyone know that if each Hinching could help it level up, he'd actually trust him. It was a 2-star ice crystal cub that could level up over time. Checked out the so-called ice crystal tiger and just couldn't take it seriously. To him, it honestly looked like a little kitten, definitely not something to be scared of. Yi Qing just let him know straight up that he could not only level it up but actually make it better too. When heard that, he just froze for a second. Then, not wanting to back down, he set up a bet with Yi Qingqing. If Yi Qingqing could actually do it, would own up and say sorry, but if not, Yi Qingqing had to keep his distance from sister. After that, Yi Qingqing called over Zhou and Zhou, the siblings, and asked them to help carry some supplies. After about 30 minutes of working on it, pulling stuff out and cleaning it up. After a bit of work, he finally got that tiny cup of potion done. The smell was straight up nasty, but Yi Qingqing still gave the smelly potion to the ice crystal cub. The little tiger chowed down, clearly hyped as it ate, making those happy noises the whole time. Out of nowhere, tons of ice crystals exploded from inside its body. Yi Qingqing slid the ice blocks aside like it was no big deal. He just acted chill, showing everyone this kind of stuff was standard for him. Everyone started stacking the blocks around the little tiger, basically building a wall so he was right in the center. Pretty soon, the little tiger soaked up all the ice, and it slowly started turning into an ice mountain. Right after the ice mountain broke apart, a massive saber-toothed tiger made of ice came crashing out. This thing had just leveled up from 2-star to 3-star, and now it was rocking an E-class rank instead of F. Sael Yoxing couldn't stop smiling, he was hyped. He instantly grabbed onto Yi Qingqing's leg, totally hyped up, clearly realizing he messed up big time. He was hoping Yi Qingqing wouldn't stay mad at him for not giving him the respect he deserved. Right when everyone thought things were done, the kid spoke up again. He asked his brother-in-law for help, saying his dad's pet beast had been off lately, moving slow, looking weak, and even throwing up. They'd already brought in a bunch of people to check it out, but nobody could figure out what was wrong. That's the beast his future father-in-law owns, which is kinda wild when you think about it. You didn't really have any other options, so he just went with it. Right before going in, the kid dropped a heads up. He basically told his brother-in-law that if he could fix his dad's pet beast, he wouldn't mess with him getting close to his sister. But if things went sideways and he messed up, he'd have to back off from her. Inside the room, a bunch of people crowded around this massive wolf that wasn't moving at all. Nobody there had any idea what was going on. Even the breeders were stumped. This wolf wasn't just any regular one. It was a 4-star Howling Moon silver wolf. It had moves like Moon Frost and Rock the Wolf King Sigil, so you already know it was on another level. You checked it with his system and realized someone had already poisoned it. The only way to fix it was to clean out the stomach. The kid grabbed Yu Chinching and brought him up fast, wanting to show him off. He let his dad know this is Yu Chinching, the guy who came over to help out Uncle Wolf. Nobody saw it coming, but Chairman clearly wasn't a fan of Yi. He barely even tried to hide it. With all the important guests from and in the room, he just looked at Yi, this teenager who's probably only 15 or 16, and honestly couldn't see any reason to trust him with something as serious as curing the Howling Moon's silver wolf. He'd already called Professor Dong over, since he was pretty much the only person who knew how to handle this kind of sickness. Yi just brushed him off, not even trying to hide how unimpressed he was. He basically let Uncle know that honestly, even if the professor himself showed up, there was no way anyone could fix this. The breeders get heated right away. They can't believe this kid just called the professor useless. Seriously, who does he think he is? Yu Chinching just tuned everyone else out and stayed focused. He was sure of himself, almost like he knew he could handle Silver Wolf's wild side without breaking a sweat. Backed him up, telling their dad to let Chinching have a shot since he was already a solid breeder. Chairman snapped, clearly done with the conversation. He stared at, not buying any of it. Even if was trying to chill him out, could tell he was just making stuff up. There aren't many mid-level breeders in and city, just 5 in total. Right now, 4 of them, not counting Professor, are already here. People keep saying this guy's just mid-level, but let's be real, he's actually the professor. Yu Chinching noticed his attitude and started getting annoyed. He decided he was done and just said he was heading out. Right then, the butler suddenly called out that Professor Dong was here. The professor walked in and spotted Yi right away, giving him a quick smile. He recognized him instantly. This was the same Yi he knew. He definitely hadn't expected to run into him again this fast, especially not here to help out Chairman. Yu Chinching just shrugged, kind of like he wanted to help, but knew no one was really listening to him. Chairman watched as the professor just focused on one person, barely looking at anyone else. It threw him off, so he straight up asked if the professor knew the guy. The professor gave a quick nod, almost proud, like, yeah, that's Little, the only student who ever passed the tough exam he was in charge of. Nobody could believe it. Turns out Yu Chinching, the one everyone's been talking about, was the 16-year-old ultimate breeder. The old professor wasn't done yet. He dropped an even bigger surprise. He admitted that Yu Chinching actually knew more about cultivation than he did. If City could hand out those top-level breeder certificates, Yu Chinching would have won a long time ago. Chairman heard that and just stopped in his tracks, his whole vibe turning stiff for a second. He tried to play it cool with a weird smile, trying to brush it off. Inside, though, he knew there was no way he'd kick out one of his friends. He was already planning to have stick around for dinner. Yu Chinching broke it down for everyone, saying the wolf got messed up by theobromine. That's the same stuff in chocolate that's bad for dogs. Even though the silver wolf was a spirit pet and looked wild, it was still basically a canine. So the chocolate hit it just like it would hit any other dog. This time it was obvious the thing had way too much theobromine, and that's why it was in such rough shape. The Moonhowl Silver Wolf only made it this far because it's just built different. Without that natural strength, it would been done a long time ago. Chairman caught on right away. He realized what was going on and wanted to know if the poison was actually something someone made on purpose. Yu Chinching didn't hesitate for a second. He was totally sure this was done on purpose. Right now, getting the wolf cleaned up was the top priority. Getting it done wasn't hard. First, he had to flush out its stomach to get rid of whatever was inside. After that, he handled the leftover poison with some careful moves to clean it up. He stayed locked in, totally sure of himself, but the clock was ticking. Chairman had to make a move fast. Chairman didn't even pause. He just nodded and told him to grab whatever materials he needed. About 30 minutes later, he showed up with the medicine he'd just made. He set it down right in front of the silver wolf, who was still making a ton of noise. Right after the wolf gulped it down, he threw up a bunch of thick black poison. Once he saw his spirit pets were safe, Chairman realized he'd messed up earlier and decided to apologize to Yu Chinching. He gave Yu Chinching a quick pat on the shoulder, letting him know they were basically family now. Just like that, the whole future father-in-law thing wasn't a problem anymore. Barely got a chance to sit down in his shop before some big names rolled in. Chairman didn't just show up alone, he pulled up with his whole crew to back up. Once the fight was over, Yu Chinching just everything up, not stressing at all. He knew the scent of blood would probably pull in snow wolves, so making it look like they'd attacked was the smart move. But snow wolves don't cook their food, they just rip things up and use ice powers, so he had to stash the roasted razor tusk boar out of sight. Yu Chinching took a quick look and started breaking it down in his head. The thing had earth and fighting powers, making it a dual type, and its rank wasn't that high. He noticed it would probably get wrecked by anything water-related. The main thing was, he actually called out what was wrong. He noticed it wasn't eating much and kept finding spots to hide by itself. The guy with glasses was totally sold and wanted to know right away how to fix it. He just shrugged it off, saying that when someone's heart gets messed up, they need time to bounce back. Basically, it's heartbreak. Humans deal with it in their own way, and spirit pets go through the same thing. Chairman just froze. Turns out, even a bear can get tired of someone. Every living thing catches feelings, and bears are no different. Spirit pets are way smarter than regular animals, so when their hearts take a hit, it's honestly not that surprising. Right then, the guy with glasses suddenly realized his buddy had stopped by a few days back with a girl bear. The two bears always clicked and hung out like best buds, so when it was time to go their separate ways, neither of them really wanted to leave. Looking back, that was the turning point. After that day, something definitely shifted between them. They probably caught feelings for each other. Once everyone saw how good Yi-Chin was, the other guests decided to show off their own spirit pets too. Ever since that day, people started showing up every day, packing the place, even though Yi-Chin tried to keep things under control with set hours and a cap on how many could come in. Every day, the shop stayed crowded. Right when Studio started raking in serious cash, came running in looking stressed. He said the whole supply chain just fell apart. Now there's zero materials left for raising pets. Turns out the mercenary group basically told everyone that if they kept working with Studio, they'd be treated like enemies. These guys had just as much pull in the mercenary city as family, so nobody really wanted to mess with them. Yi-Chin just didn't get it. Wu was gone, so what was the point of still coming after them? Broke It Down's got an older brother who's the deputy leader of. Still, he didn't buy that this was all about getting back at them for. Mercenary Group owned nearly all the breeding rooms and studios around city. When swiped a ton of their clients, got heated and started plotting to take them down. Putting the squeeze on the smaller merc crews wasn't going to change anything. Iron blood was the real problem here. Right then, Yi-Chin came up with a plan. Instead of trying to muscle his way through, he decided to use his brain and play it smart. That night, the crew rolled up to his warehouse. The place was packed with supplies. Yi-Chin grabbed a stalk of the herb, copying what just did. Since they were hiding out, he figured they might as well use the shadows to their advantage. Plus, the wind was on their side, blowing straight toward the warehouse. Yi-Chin grabbed a flame from Spiraling Sparrow and kept things about his plan. When tried to figure out what he was up to, Yi-Chin just brushed it off and told him to wait and watch. The next second, he picked up the lit herb. Smoke started rolling in, pushed by the wind right at the warehouse. The spirit pets inside caught the scent right away. Everyone just lost it and started turning on their own handlers. The herb had one job: it woke up the wild instincts buried deep inside spirit pets. Normally, contracts kept these creatures chill and obedient, but after eating this, they broke loose for a bit. The little brother couldn't hold back his hype, totally impressed by Yi-Chin. He thought the move was savage. Enemies would end up taking each other out, so they barely had to lift a finger. Yi-Chin kept it real and told everyone to hurry before the herb stopped working. They slipped into the warehouse and everyone just froze. The place was stacked with gold and jewels everywhere you looked. You lit up, pumped at what they found. With all this, the studio was set for supplies for the whole year easy. Yi-Chin called out his spirit pet, the Void Cone, ready to get things started. It fired up its teleport move and just sucked up everything in the warehouse, stashing it all away in its own hidden space. Wu's older brother ran that warehouse. The mercenary boss had zero mercy, especially for someone like him. Honestly, this was just karma catching up. Yi-Chin's move landed perfectly. He didn't even need to pull out a weapon. The next day, he made his way over to the mercenary city, hoping to find Yi. That reward from the Ancient Heaven Tree mission still hadn't been split with him, and he wasn't about to let that slide. Yi-Chin spotted someone following him. He knew fights weren't allowed in Mercenary City, so he just brushed it off and didn't bother taking it to heart. He headed over to the mercenary group, hoping Uncle you might know where Yi-Chin was. Out of nowhere, a bunch of guys stormed inside, yelling for everyone to block off the whole sketchy library. They were dead serious about not letting anyone slip out, not even something tiny. The guy with the scar took a step up and checked if that was Yi-Chin from Studio. He mentioned their warehouse up in the back mountains got totally emptied out last night and wanted to know if I was the one behind it. Yi-Chin kept his cool. Even with everyone crowding around him, he stayed chill, like he knew exactly what was going on and wasn't bothered at all. It was like he could tell they all thought he was guilty, but he wasn't about to let them see him sweat. Scarface gave him a serious heads up. If he didn't give up everything now, not even the city's young boss could bail him out of this mess. He mentioned he'd caught wind of the whole thing with kind of throwing out there that death could have something to do with him too. Yi-Chin quickly pushed back, making it clear he wasn't involved with the stolen stuff or what happened to. Scarface lost it. He made it clear he'd already given him a shot, but since that didn't work out, he was done playing nice. Now he wanted the guys to grab him, no excuses, and he had to be alive. The underlings rushed in. Right then the old man finally said something. He wondered if the guys even noticed him standing there. He noticed someone trying to throw down on his own ground. Nobody even bothered to ask if it was cool. Scarface just laughed it off, clearly not seeing the guy as a threat. To him, this was just some old dude trying to act tough. Nobody took this mercenary group seriously. They were always at the bottom, barely scraping by. The guy sizing them up knew he could end their run in seconds if he really wanted to. The old man didn't even get mad. He just gave a smug look, like he was about to show what real respect meant and remind everyone how things used to go down. He called out his spirit pet, and it turned out to be a Thunder Lion King with 4 stars sitting at D tier. You couldn't believe it. He never thought the old guy was hiding something this strong. The Thunder Lion King dropped its Thunder Strike, and Scarface's spirit pet got dropped right away, no chance to react. Even a D-tier spirit pet could seriously pack a punch. Scarface noticed things weren't going his way, so he quickly slapped on a fake smile. He threw himself back. For Yi, the challenges definitely weren't over yet. He scoops up his worn-out pet and dips out of there fast. Old man Yi looked over at Yi, basically letting him know he just bailayed him out and was waiting to see how he'd pay him back. Yi Qingqing could tell right away that the old man was up to something shady, so he made it clear he was broke. So Yi's dad actually picked Yi Qingqing to step up for the mercenary group in this year's big tournament. They couldn't even get in unless their squad had exactly 5 people. Yi Qingqing was ready to say no. Getting pulled into all this was the last thing he wanted. Out of nowhere, the old guy dropped a bomb. Whoever takes first place scores $1 million. Yi Qingqing heard he'd get half the prize if he got first place, so he didn't even hesitate. He was all in right away. The next morning, Yi Qingqing's crew showed up at the competition spot, proving just how far money can really take you. Was the young city lord, so he had to sit this competition out. For now, the lineup was her little bro Zhou and Yi. That made 5 people altogether. There were 305 mercenary squads in the game. The whole thing ran on a point system. Win a fight, score 1 point, lose you lose a point. All the teams got ranked by how many points they stacked up. If Yi Qingqing took down every opponent, that pretty much meant their squad would be the champs right away. Their first match was against the Hungry Wolf squad, a team everyone knew because they always brought the heat. Just like their name says, these guys would straight up starve their spirit pets until they lost it. The pets would go wild, wrecking enemy pets and even turning on the enemy themselves. As soon as Yi Qingqing and his squad hit the field, he let everyone know that with opponents this ruthless, there was no point holding back. Things were about to get wild between the mercenary crew and the Hungry Wolves. The tension was maxed out and everyone knew a fight was about to kick off. As soon as the order dropped, everyone brought out their spirit pets and just like that, the battle kicked off. Wu steps up, ready to prove he's got what it takes. Everyone's watching, waiting to see if he can really pull it off. Wu didn't waste any time and fired off its intimidation move right away. Both wolves stopped dead in their tracks. With just one swipe, both wolves got taken out on the spot. Sael got fired up and started yelling out for his brother-in-law, saying he was way too strong and wanted to get in on the action too. He was still working on his ice crystal when the tiger lunged and took one out. The last 2 wolves dipped, trying to get out of there as fast as they could. Wu and the ice crystal tiger just wiped them out right away. Nobody in the crowd could believe what just happened. The match was over in less than half a minute. It was total domination. Yi Qingqing looked over at the host, kind of waiting for him to say who won. He was chill about it, but you could tell he was ready to go all out if he needed to, even if that meant going after the other team's Beastmasters. The host didn't waste any time and announced that the squad won, giving them a point right away. After the match ended, Yi Qingqing didn't chill at all. He was already thinking ahead, telling the group they should hit up the Spirit Beast Forest and level up even more. When they pulled up, there was this 2-star E-tier explosive ape just waiting for them. It was guarding the Fire Spirit Fruit, which was the real prize they came for. Everyone kinda knew that whenever a rare spirit herb showed up, there'd always be some nasty spirit hanging around, ready to mess with anyone who got close. Yi handed it off too, leaving him to handle the situation. Wu's Soul Devour skill boosted the Fire Sparrow's Hellfire World Cleave, so taking down the explosive ape was easy. Yi reached over and yanked a pre-stored juicer out of Su's mouth, not even hesitating. He threw the E-tier Fire Core and the Fire Spirit Fruit together, keeping it basic since top-tier stuff honestly works best when you don't overthink it. After Fire Sparrow down the drink, the level bumped up from 15 to 16. Usually a Fire Spirit Fruit would boost a pet up by 2 or 3 levels, but the Fire Sparrow only leveled up once. Guess that's what happens when a pet's got a stronger bloodline, it just takes more to power them up. They kept heading further into the forest. Yi suddenly told everyone to keep it down. He just found a 2-star treasure hunting gold rat. At first glance, it seemed pretty normal, but this thing had some next-level treasure radar that could seriously level up their hunt for spirit herbs. Yi Qingqing had it all figured out. He wanted the little bro and him to come at it from 3 different sides. The 3 of them all chased after the gold rat, but somehow just ended up crashing into each other instead. The little brother started whining, saying that punching him was like slamming into a brick wall. Just pointed out that Yi Qingqing could take down an F-tier wolf using raw strength. So yeah, it was pretty clear his body wasn't built like everyone else's. Off to the side, the gold rat just watched and started cracking up at everyone. Yi Qingqing just couldn't take the disrespect, getting roasted by a rat. Now he knew it was time to stop messing around and actually step up. He got ready by calling in Wu for backup, while pulled up with Dubai, both of them locked in and ready to handle the gold rat. It looked like the little creature was out of luck. Wu had the gold rat totally locked down, and with Dubai dropping that icy ground move, the rat just gave up right away. It didn't waste any time, promising to help them find the herbs. They kept after it, and before long it tracked down a wind thunder fruit, a 2-star item packed with both wind and lightning power. Joe was about to reach for, but Yi Qinqing stepped in and blocked her. He figured there had to be some kind of guardian spirit hanging around. Out of nowhere, the guardian showed up, a 3-star E-tier wolf king with a purple moon vibe. Stepped up and said she'd take care of it. Her fire sparrow had these crazy strong flames that totally outmatched the wolf, plus her pet was just on another level. Yi Qing wasn't having it. He made it clear this fight was for Joe and Joe to handle on their own. The little brother told his ice crystal tiger to go for it, and the tiger let loose with a solid ice attack. The purple moon wolf king smacked the ice spike and broke it apart instantly. Joe called in Jade Fox's assistant from the sidelines. He kicked off with wind, powering up and moving faster than anyone could track. The Wolf King's ice armor couldn't take it. Raw strength just broke right through. Right when the Wolf King was about to finish off Jade Fox, Joe told Ba to get Earth Guardian up and running. The shield closed in around Jade Fox, stopping the attack before it could even touch him. Spotted his chance and told Dubai to launch an ice pillar. After everyone teamed up and really pushed themselves, they finally took down the Wolf King. He grabbed the core and it was finally his. Yi Qinqing broke it down for Joe. The Wolf King's core actually had ice and lightning power inside. If Jade Fox got her hands on it, she could end up unlocking an ice ability for herself. He knew there was no promise it would actually work. Yi Qinqing got the mix ready and handed it over to Jade Fox to drink. A few seconds later, something wild happened. Jade Fox leveled up into this frost mutant form, and suddenly all her moves got powered up with lightning, wind, and ice vibes. Joe couldn't help himself. He just pulled Yi Qinqing in and hugged him tight, grinning like he just won big. They kept dropping those gold RATS treasure scents everywhere. That's when the Ice Crystal Tiger finally tracked down its upgrade material, the Ice Pure Glaze. Came across some essence, which basically had both water and rock vibes going on. Even Yi Qinqing's king, and managed to get their hands on Meteor Iron and a World Flower. After a while they finally made it to this wild spot called the Ice Fire in Yangpool, where two elements came together in one place. Right in the middle there was just one rare flower standing out. The Flame Frost Blossom was this rare plant that had both fire and ice powers. It only grew in these special springs, and people knew it was top-tier spirit medicine. If Dubai got his hands on it and used it, nobody could really guess how crazy the results would be. Had this idea to send her fire sparrow over and grab the flower. Right as the flower got snatched, out of nowhere, a guardian evil spirit blasted out from the spring and slammed straight into Fire Finch. In that instant, Yi Qinqing told to pull off a spatial shift. He managed to get both the Fire Finch and a Frost Fire Blossom back with him. Using spatial shift back-to-back totally wiped out Yi's stamina. Hurried over to help him out, looking pretty worried about what kind of evil spirit they were dealing with. This thing had two heads, one red, one blue. Yi Qinqing let them know it was a 3-star B-class twin-headed serpent, which could blast out both ice and fire, and even its attacks were laced with poison. Was hurt and nowhere near as strong as usual. There's no way a D-class evil spirit would let them get away. Yi Qinqing told the squad it was all or nothing, and that they had to back up with everything they had. They'd never gone up against an enemy this strong before. He played it safe and had Fire Finch go check things out first. Went all out and dropped a massive flame slash that looked like it could set the whole world on fire. The serpent blasted out both ice and fire at the same time, and just like that the skill broke apart instantly. Yi Qinqing saw right away that the skill gap was just way too much, so he went all in and dropped King into smash, putting everything he had into it. King didn't waste a second. He grabbed the golden staff and brought it down with serious force. Nobody expected it, but even King couldn't take control of the fight. Once the smoke faded, everyone could see King trapped tight in the grip of that two-headed snake. He didn't waste any time and told 2-5 to scare them. The serpent stopped moving for a second. Yi Qinqing saw his chance and went for it. 2-5 dropped a strike right after. Everything was about to be settled.
Lately, I've had a strong addiction to watching manhwa and manga recap videos. Every single day, I find myself binging one after another, losing hours and days doing absolutely nothing productive. And honestly, it's getting out of hand. So, maybe we can make these viral videos too. I mean, look at the views, the growth, the community these creators are building. It looks simple, right? But that's a trap. You go down this endless rabbit hole, spending money, losing sleep, hiring editors and writers from Fiverr and Upwork, and still feel like you've been robbed. Because don't forget how emotional the YouTube algorithm can be with making videos go viral. It's unpredictable, especially when the market's saturated, competition's relentless, and somehow other creators are dropping 10-hour videos daily while you're stuck trying to finish one. That's when I realized something had to change. So, I built the solution, the Webtoon Narrative Suite, a complete one-click system that handles everything from cropping, script narration, text-to-speech, image processing, and full video generation in one smooth process. Save money, reduce hours of work, and have a tool that only gives you straight results. Click on the link down below and experience it for yourself. And if you want even more tools to supercharge your YouTube recap journey, visit my Ko-Fi and Patreon pages where I drop weekly new tools designed to keep you ahead as AI continues to steal our jobs. So tap in now before you get left behind.